Go time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Real Estate Redefined. I'm here with ERA Newlin's Ryan Newlin. I'm Jeff Caldwell on a casual Friday.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me, Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. Filling in for Sonora Scott. Couldn't make it today.
All right, well, we got all kinds to talk about.
Well,
Where do we want to start?
Well, I think what we had talked about before the show is you wanted to talk about the low inventory of housing.
Low inventory. I think we'll probably, if we continue to do this show throughout the rest of this year, we'll talk about low inventory probably every single time, because we still have, there's not enough houses for sale compared to the people that want to buy them. So I ran some numbers this morning, and, in San Angelo, there's only 146 houses for sale.
Wow.
That is up about 20 houses from a couple of weeks ago. So some of them have started to come on. I don't think last week helped at all.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, not at all. But I did pull like some price ranges. Under 100,000, there's only 9 houses for sale. Not many.
Not
if you
many,
want to stay
no.
under 100.
Yeah.
In that 100 to 200 price range, there are 45. 2 to 300, 36. And over 300, there's a whopping 56 of them. So the majority,
houses.
There's a lot of houses in that upper end range, but 100 to 200 is where a lot of people want to be. And there's limited pickings. So most of those come on the market, and 2 days later they sell with multiple offers. So
Right.
That's what we're seeing.
I would imagine that, like you said, we're going to be talking about this for a good portion of the year, because it's not like...
Usually this time of year we have 300 or 400 houses for sale. So,
Right.
And then as we get into summertime, that's when the numbers drop down real low. So if we're starting out this low already,
Right.
when the real buying season happens in April, May, June, I don't know. I've never seen under 100 houses for sale, but I can see it happening.
Sure. And it's not the kind of thing that just sort of rectifies itself very quickly.
Not really. There's, I guess those people, if you want to sell your house today and you want to help put another house on the inventory, you got to find somewhere to go a lot of times. So, it's kind of fighting against yourself.
If you're not moving out of town.
Yeah. And then another thing I wrote down that it happened again on Monday was the lumber prices continue to skyrocket due to mill production in Northern America and Canada. And so those prices have gone up so high that it's going to affect some of the home builders. They're going to have to look at their model and figure out how they can build the same house, not price themselves out of the market, and get it done with, lumber. Like in June of 20, like lumber was $300 for this specific package. Today it's $1,000 for that same package.
Man, that's
all across the board. Whether it's plywood or 2x4s or
like you said, just the ability to obtain lumber and build new houses. That's just so many things have been affected by the last year.
Definitely.
Housing is one of those things that's not so obvious, because you just sort of assume.
Yeah.
I mean,
you assume that there's going to be a stove available if you want to buy a new one, and there's
right.
not.
Exactly.
So
so there's a lot in the supply chain that's still being affected by that.
Agree.
And I can't imagine that, at least in Texas, the last week has helped a tremendous amount.
Yeah. So we can talk about the freezing in San Angelo.
I'm all.
Everyone dealt with it a little
Yeah.
bit to some. If you were one of those lucky few that had power and water,
Right.
So you might not even know what we're talking about, but there's a lot of people who, like I went the 3 day, the Sunday through Wednesday with no electricity.
Same here.
I did have water. I didn't have any water breaks in my house.
Yeah.
But I know you said you had
I did. Yeah. Unfortunately, I got to spend 73 hours with no power, and right near the end of it, I heard the pipe burst underneath the house.
Yeah.
Luckily, that's the only one I heard, and I had a key to turn off.
You had a water key, and you knew where it was?
I did not know where it was. I knew the rough area of where it was. Unfortunately, that rough area was 20 feet of snow, and my shed's door handle was frozen.
Oh gosh.
so I couldn't get to a shovel. So
Yeah.
that was
I went around trying to turn off water at vacant houses on Wednesday and Thursday. Some of the agents were, some people were stuck out in Dove Creek. They couldn't get in to check on their houses, so I just drove around town and turned off quite a few. And I had a broom with me, so I could walk around and just stabbing in the snow until I found it. So that's one thing I think that everyone can learn after this. And again, we might not have this again for 20 years, but know where your water key is.
yes.
Obtain a water key if you don't have one, and find and know where your meter is located.
I think everybody should just start putting a flag
Exactly.
on their water meter,
like a 6-8 inch flag.
because
So,
I had a good 20 minutes of choice words in the alley
Yeah.
looking for my
we had a house that was over by the college, and it had a huge front yard. It was on a corner lot, and me and the other agent he had a Swiffer broom trying to remove snow. I had my broomstick, and we were looking all over this front yard, and I was like, oh my gosh, the city has the GIS website that
right.
has like a water line overlay. And so I pulled that up on my phone, and we realized pretty quick the water meter's in the alley. So, and found it pretty quick once we walked back
That's
there.
good. Yeah. So yeah, I can imagine that that's also having an effect. People who may have wanted to sell, who now have damage to deal with.
Yeah.
People
The plumbers, I think, most plumbers I've talked to are at least a month out at this point,
Wow.
if not 2. So I heard of one of the big plumbing companies said they're booked through March and maybe through April at this point. So, and because a lot of what they've done is they went out and stopped the leaks in a lot of houses,
Right.
but they haven't gone back to repair everything because they're just trying to get to all the leaks
Right.
and find the parts to fix the leaks. So,
And that's because most of our houses aren't insulated for any kind of prolonged freeze.
correct. There's a lot of houses that don't have much insulation in the attic,
Right.
and then if anything in the walls. And it might be in the walls, but it's over the last 50 years it's sunk down all the way to the floor level,
Right.
and those water lines were exposed.
Yeah.
So
Now we had talked a little bit for people who are able to buy a house right now. The interest rates are changing.
yeah, I started hearing it I think 2 days ago that hey, we've got to find a house, because a lot of times that your lender won't lock in your interest rate until you find a property and have a contract, and then they'll lock you in. And so that they'll save that interest rate for 30 or 45 days until you close. So people were I got to find a house today because interest rates are going up. I called one of the lenders I work with this morning, and he's with one of those the big lending companies, so they've got economists on that work with them. The way everything's looking, they're definitely going up. They're at a whopping 3% today, roughly, compared to 2.5% of last week.
Right.
So super cheap still. I asked how high he thought they would go. He thinks that they'll get back to at least 4%. So not high historically, but still $100 or more a month more in your payment than what you would have had last week.
See, that would be my question, because I don't have any. I've never looked for a house.
Yeah.
Never had to compare interest rates. I barely have any real inkling of,
Yeah.
historically what it's been, why even 3%, 4% is still very low. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, see, like when your parents bought their first house, if people were buying in the early 80s, their interest rates were like 13 to 18%.
Wild.
So, and then I saw a graph recently. I should have went and found it, but they dropped down. They've gotten lower than that, obviously. When I got in real estate in 2006, I know that they were around 6 or 7%. So they've cut in half since then. But really, it affects how much money you pay in interest over the life of your 30-year mortgage.
Right.
So it's a huge, just that 1%.
On $100,000, if
Yeah,
you're getting the
it turns
cheapest house
into a
you
lot
can.
of money
Yeah.
over the life of the loan. So,
Right.
a lot of people that don't own houses that say they're renting and they want to buy, they want to try to get that house payment at or below what they're paying for rent. And when those interest rates start to trickle up, then that affects how they can do that. So, they've got to they might not be able to buy a $175,000 house. They might have to stay at a $150,000 house, which, again, today, if you can find either of those, you're getting pretty lucky.
Right.
So,
yeah, I would imagine that ideally you want your mortgage payment to be less than what you pay in rent, because you still have to take care of the house.
well, yeah, you've got maintenance. You've got to pay the taxes are included in that payment. You've got to pay all your utilities. Sometimes a lot of landlords will pay the water bill or do something. So
Right.
yeah, there's maintenance involved, and especially like right now, these plumbers are to come out to just repair they're $90 to $110 of the numbers I've heard lately an hour. So depending on where that leak occurred, they're going to be there a little while, and then a lot of times they're cutting into sheetrock, they're cutting into your attic
Right.
to get to those water lines. And so you got to repair that afterwards.
Right.
If you had big damage on your house, I know that your insurance will cover it, but there's still a deductible involved. So
Sure.
a lot of time I talked to my agent and he said, kind of try to figure out, if you've got a $3,000 deductible and you don't call and make a claim
Right.
if you don't think it's going to be that much to fix it.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
that claim will stick with you going forward, and they're not going to pay for it. You're still going to have to pay out of pocket. So
Yeah, that's something else I don't really know very much about. The way homeowners insurance works and all of that.
So generally, a good homeowner's policy is 1% of the value of your home. So there are insurance agents that write 2% deductibles, but you need to be in a 1% deductible. So if a hailstorm comes through,
Right.
and you have a $200,000 house, you have a $2,000 deductible that you have to pay prior to the insurance spending, $8,000 or $9,000 to replace that roof. Same thing in like a freeze situation like this. What you need to do is you need to first get the leak stopped, whatever way, whether that's turning off your water at the street or calling a plumber to cap it off. Then you need to dry your home out.
Right.
Once it heats up like it has been, today, that you don't want mold to start growing on your baseboards or under your carpet or anything like that.
Right. That's absolutely something nobody wants.
Yeah, and then call the insurance company. So, if it ruined 2 floors, carpet in one room and wood floor in another room and the base of your cabinets, you're probably going to get above that $2,000 or $3,000 deductible.
Right.
So
That is, buying a house is a huge undertaking. I mean, it's also sort of a tradition just for
it's a
for
tradition.
people in the United States. But
it's like I told Sonora last week, it's like a savings account.
Right.
So, as long as you maintain it, you don't want to buy a house and you never know how the market's going to go. But the goal is to own a house, sell it for more money than you owe on it, and go to the next one, or however you want to do that.
Make sure that everything is tip-top shape.
Yeah, definitely.
So we were also talking a little bit. You wanted maybe to talk a little bit about Paul Ann neighborhood and
Well, Paul Ann's just been in the news.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of houses in Paul Ann. There's people that probably, if you start looking online and you see some houses in Paul Ann for sale, you want to know what's going on. I think, from reading some information, or I guess the video that the city manager put out yesterday, they're taking care of that situation.
Right.
Still working on trying to figure out what happened. There were 3 houses as of Monday morning for sale in Paul Ann. There's generally 10. There's not much out there available. One of those sold, so that's good.
Right.
Someone bought a house in Paul Ann this week. There's still 2 more available. And I know there's a couple of different builders still building out there. So there's going to be more properties come up for sale in Paul Ann.
Now, Paul Ann is actually kind of a newer part of town, right? It's not.
It is newer. The middle section of Paul Ann, those homes were built in the 80s.
Okay.
And then there was some built in the 90s, and then it seemed like there was a break. And then the 2002, 2003, they started going again, and then they're still going. So once it's it's popular with Goodfellow.
Sure.
It's just right down Bell Street, and so I don't know they're probably building 15 or 20 houses a year out there. So again, we'll see what happens with the lumber prices. You know, it all
Right.
kind of comes back and connects. You know, you got interest rates, lumber prices. You got to have people moving
Sure.
to take those on.
Yeah, all of these things are
Yeah.
interconnected.
But I think Paul-Ann's going to be just fine.
Good. I know that they're, I was here last week while you guys were talking, and I know that
Yeah.
you had said that there were some people who had bought houses and were not moved in yet and wondering what was going on.
Yeah, lots of questions.
And I'm sure, of course, you know,
Yeah.
that's where you're going to live, and now you're on the hook for a house. But it is good that
Yeah.
our city has it taken care
There'll
of.
probably
and
be a few RO systems sold out there, I'm guessing.
I think after the entire thing, I would imagine that there are going to be a few RO systems
Yeah.
sold across the city.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I talked to before our meeting on Tuesday. I called the lumber yard and talked to them. I called the banks, but I called the guy who's done our RO systems at our office. Talked to him about what he, and so he's ramped up. He's ready to go. I use Larry Johnson at what is it, RO Express. He's
Okay.
on Facebook. He's a super good guy. But yeah, he kind of gave me some ideas of what to do after we got our water back on. He said, flush your system twice, completely out.
Right.
And if it's not working well, call me out and I'll look at it. But if it works well, flushing it twice should have worked. If you're
That's
in
good.
Paul-Ann, you probably want to take a different approach. And I would call an expert on water, whether that's
That's what I was-
Culligan or Larry or
Yeah, I was
or
going to ask.
Echo Water. I think there's only a few companies that do it.
Probably best to talk to somebody
Definitely.
who knows more than you do.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's definitely one of those situations. So let's see. I don't think
Where are we at on time? I don't know.
we are. Well, we've got a few minutes.
Okay. Well, we had the holidays and we've had the freeze, and there just hadn't been a whole lot of open houses lately. So I was excited this week when some of the agents at the office started calling saying they're going to hold open houses. So there's 13 open houses this week.
Nice.
Once we get to summertime, there'll probably be 25. But yeah, there's 13. I've got a new link on my website so you can look at all of those open houses.
That's something we wanted to show people.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is.
So I've got a couple of different websites, but on this one, the URL to get to this website is eranewlin.com.
I'm going to put that right back up. I accidentally hit the button. Sorry, everyone.
No problem. And if you go to eranewlin.com, you can search for properties, whether you're looking for beds, baths, price range, right on the main menu bar. But just below that, there's two big buttons. One for just listed houses. Those are the ones that are coming on the market today.
Okay.
And then the one to the right is open houses. So if you click that link today or tomorrow or even next week, it's always going to show you the open houses that will be held on either Saturday or Sunday. Generally, they're Sunday 2 to 4. So you can look at pictures, map links, descriptions, everything like that.
All right.
If for some reason you want to get in one of those before the open house, that's what I would want to do,
Right.
and not wait for everyone to go see it.
Start making
Then
offers. And
there's going to be a way to just contact an agent and go see it right away.
that sounds like the best strategy.
Oh yeah,
in
definitely.
general.
I would,
Yeah.
I was helping out an agent this week who was out of town, and she had some people that wanted to see a house that just came on the market. They said, "Well, we can go tomorrow at 5:30." I was like, "That's fine, and I will do that. But if you can find any other time to go before then, just let me know, because there's a good chance it won't be available tomorrow at 5:30."
Right.
So
Right.
just
With the
sooner the better to get in those houses.
Right, with the inventory that you've been talking about,
definitely.
you had mentioned in the last show that, you might want a house, and then by the time you're ready to make an offer, it's already gone.
Yeah, and then you just start, get going, and then you wait for the next one to come up. So that's the good thing. Go to ERA Newlin and click on that just listed button, and then you can sit there all day and just refresh and
Here,
see new stuff
I'm going to
come
pull
up.
that back up so everybody can see it. There on the.
So like just listed, and I know people that do this, that they'll just keep that open in a tab in their office, and then every hour or so you just hit refresh and the new ones will pop straight in on the top.
Oh, that's good.
So yeah,
Just about real time.
exactly.
As real
There's a,
time
there's
as
a little bit of delay, but not much.
Well, a little bit of a delay is
Yeah. You will beat the if someone's only looking on Zillow to find a new house,
right.
you're going to beat them to it. That's for sure. So
Well, that's what I would do.
yeah.
I think we're just about out of time.
All right.
I know
Next
that,
week I'll show up on Thursday. I forgot.
and next week it's most likely not going to be me filling in for Sonora. So, but this has been really fun.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Everyone, you guys come back here next Thursday at 11 for Real Estate Redefined to catch up on everything that's new.
Yeah, see what else happens next week.
All right.
All right.
See you guys next week.